Hello everyone, and we are back. The Oscars are just about here, and we're going to talk to you about them. I'm Joe Baress. This is Rebecca Kivak.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have let you say your name.
No, that's okay.
We're going to get right into it because we tend to go long. So just to open up, what do you think about nominees? You know, just what do you think about the Oscars in general, movie season? What do you think?
It's been a really strong year for movies, I think. Like even just looking at the Best Picture nominees, we've got a lot of different genres represented.
Yeah.
You've got like a comic book film, and the comic book film made history by garnering the most nominations this year. You've got like adaptations of beloved books. You've got dramedies, you've got Quentin Tarantino movies.
Right.
So you have like a really diverse mix of movies in the fray.
Yeah.
The problem is, in terms of nominees in the main categories, there's an alarming lack of diversity.
Right. It's pretty, it's pretty astonishing. Again, the Oscars claim to want to move toward more of a diverse, more diverse nominees, and here we are. It's kind of ridiculous, and we'll kind of parse through. We'll get into some categories where we think there could be some changes because there are definitely some snubs going along in these main categories. But that was just a big part of the nominations, where it was real lack of diversity. You're absolutely right. And how do you think? What do you think about the Netflix headway, all that they've done here with The Irishman, A Marriage Story, The Two Popes?
I'm actually really happy to see them getting as many nominations as they did. When I was doing research for this, apparently Netflix is leading all the major studios with 24 nominations.
Yeah.
So they've come a long way. Like I think last year Roma gave them a huge boost.
Right.
With the acclaim that film had gotten, that gave them their first nomination for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And then this year, you got The Irishman with 10 nods, you've got Marriage Story with 6, and The Two Popes with 3.
The Two Popes.
And I really like that they're getting more acclaim for their films, because honestly, it's putting their films on a platform for so many more people to be able to go and see them.
That's true. That's a great point. And like you said, 3 very, very good movies.
Yes.
Marriage Story was great. Obviously, we'll get into that. Two Popes sneaking in. That was just a great kind of back and forth movie between 2 great actors, Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins. It was nice to see Jonathan Pryce not be a bad guy for once.
No, I enjoyed that movie a lot more than I thought I was going to going in, honestly. Yeah. So I'm really glad to see that get on board here.
Absolutely. So let's kick it off. Let's get into the Best Picture nominees. There were 9. There are 9. Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time, ... in Hollywood, and Parasite. What do you think of the nominees?
I think out of all of them, I think there's 3 that we're going to be looking at throughout the evening.
Sure.
I think that your 3 front runners are going to be 1917, Parasite, and Once Upon a Time, ... in Hollywood. And honestly, 1917 has the momentum going into this.
Right.
It's picked up the Golden Globe. It's picked up the Producers Guild Award, which that's been a really great indicator of the Best Picture Award winners.
Right.
It's predicted the last 2, which you have Green Book last year, which we weren't exactly high on, and Sorry Actions, and The Shape of Water. So it has that going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just not to put you on the spot here, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Why do you think that is in the conversation? You've got. I feel like you have the clear frontrunners in 1917 and Parasite. For you, what puts Once Upon a Time in Hollywood up there for you?
A lot of people really like it, honestly.
Yeah.
Just from the different research I've been doing, from the reviews that I read, and just the general reactions from people in the industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people really love this movie.
Yes.
And it's one of the few movies that it didn't come out during the prime, coming out period. Most of these movies came out between October and January.
True.
And that made it really hard to catch all of them, honestly. They came in between such a short period of time. That movie came out during the summer.
Right.
And it's still in the conversation, which says a lot about it. If it's sticking in people's minds, you know, it's definitely carrying some weight going into award season. So I think I think we have a contender here, honestly.
Yeah, definitely, and I totally agree. You know, whenever you have, and this is kind of a theme of the Oscars this year, you have a Quentin Tarantino, and I think people are kind of giving him a lot of credit because he's Quentin Tarantino. And you see that with a lot of, well, not a lot, but a few. You've got a Martin Scorsese in The Irishman, which you and I thought was good, not his best work.
Right.
You know, you've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, again, good film. Well, okay, we differ on that one. We'll get to it. But for me, good film, far from his best work. And it just seems so weird that, you know, these films are getting such great acclaim when it's I don't know, it's a difficult thing to weigh when you know that they've done better. So do you really want to award them for something that is not as good as their other work? I don't know. That's just kind of my feel kind of going into this, but obviously they're getting a lot of nominations. So but as you mentioned, the one that's getting the most nominations is Joker. My favorite film of the year. No.
That would be sarcasm, if you're wondering.
Here's where Rebecca and I differ. Joker, I did not like, and Rebecca didn't like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then we flop, where I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you did not like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, yeah, all right, just quickly, Joker gets 11 nominations, and you've got a director who doesn't understand the film that he made, comparing it to John Wick Chapter 3, and he doesn't understand why it's a polarizing film, and that doesn't make any sense. Of course, he directed The Hangover, so I don't know. And I'd much rather have that film than Joker. Anyway, moving on. 11 nominations? 11.
That's high.
I can't look. I'm reasonable, right? Generally?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
For as long as you know me, I'm generally reasonable.
You have good instincts.
So, you know, I figured, okay, it's obviously gonna get some. It's obviously gonna get Best Picture. And the nominations came out and it was 11 to lead everybody. It just, that I couldn't take. I don't know.
I do like Joker. I'm of the opinion that it's like a modern masterpiece for our times, which I know is not something that you agree with. But I'm glad to see it represented. I do think that 11 nominations is a bit high for it. Yeah. I definitely can see it being in the conversation for Best Picture. However, I don't see it necessarily winning just because I think it's lagging behind other films in the category, primarily the three we mentioned before. But the acting, which we'll get to, I think that really has propelled this film a bunch of others in the awards conversation this season. Just, you associate Joaquin Phoenix with this film, and it's really doing a lot to push momentum for the film forward, or at least it was when the nominations came out.
Absolutely. And tell me about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What lacks for you about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I had my moment. I'll give you yours. The floor is yours.
I don't think it's Quentin Tarantino's strongest effort, which is a point that you made about Scorsese and The Irishman. I think it's an entertaining film. I don't think it's as well structured as his other works. For instance, Inglourious Basterds. It does surprise me. Well, it does and it doesn't surprise me. He's Quentin Tarantino, so of course he would get an original screenplay nomination. But the structure is what I do have problems with. To me, it just meanders. It would lose me every so often, and I would just wonder, like, well, what's going to be the point of this movie? It takes some detours throughout the film, and this is a pretty long film. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. Usually Tarantino makes the most of his time, but I thought he gave this too much time, honestly. I think he gave it too much room to breathe. And I would have appreciated a more structured sense of storytelling. So that's my big issue with the film.
I totally get it, and it's funny because when we reviewed it, we made like similar points, except I liked that he did that. It was like, so I mean, it's look, I think that again we're both reasonable people, you know. I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I agree with your points. You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with yours about some of the ones you made about Joker.
Exactly,
honestly.
exactly.
I am surprised that this is now the comic book film that has the most Oscar nominations in history. So, if you had asked me coming up to this, I think I probably would have assumed it would have been a Marvel movie at some point.
Sure, yeah.
But Joker, it's not just a comic book film. It broached those boundaries of the genre to become a psychological drama. I mean, it's an art house film about a comic book character.
True.
So, and it does seem to be resonating with at least like part of society.
Right.
So.
And The Dark Knight actually paved the way for it. Batman paved the way for Joker to have 11 nominations.
This is true. Crazy. It's only fitting, yeah.
Right. It's only fitting. So, I think let's get on to the meat here of the two that I think are going to battle it out for Best Picture, and we both absolutely love these films. Check out our blogs, our reviews on accessnepa.com/take2, the number. We both gave them perfect ratings.
We did.
5 out of 5.
Which is rare, by the way.
Which is rare. Yep, exactly. 1917. Tell me, why is it so good?
It's a technical marvel, but it's also an incredibly moving film.
Yes.
It has your emotion. This is a World War I epic, so this is showing you the horrors of war, but it's doing it through the technique of looking like one continuous take.
Right.
Which is just, that's breathtaking filmmaking. Right there. It's amazing what this film is able to achieve in the 2 hours that it has to do it.
Yeah, I really want to see this movie again. I feel like I'll get much more out of it even the second time. I got a ton out of it the first time. It's just kind of looking for, you know, how they made this movie. You're absolutely right. It's just it's a technical marvel. It's a masterpiece of a film, and the only thing it has going against it, which you said isn't true, is that people don't have a total emotional connection with it. Now we did, you know.
Yeah, it stuck with me after I left the theater, honestly.
Exactly. I mean, the acting was fantastic. You know, the lead actor, and I'm forgetting his name
George
right now.
McKay.
Thank you, George McKay. I thought he was phenomenal, very subtle, and I loved his performance, and I really connected with that, and just everything about it, the score, and again, we'll get to a few of the things, but everything about it's just amazing, and it's going up against a Parasite film that's pretty darn good in and of itself.
I know, we're looking to get 2 films of this caliber, honestly.
Exactly, and what a film Parasite is. How difficult to describe it. I mean, there's like, the trailer makes it seem like a horror movie, and it's not a horror movie, but it does genre skip. You know, it's...
that's a good way to put it, genre skip.
Yeah, and, you know, it starts off... It's very funny.
It was much funnier than I expected.
So you got like a good half hour, 40 minutes of like, now granted, some of it's dark humor, but it's very funny. I found myself cracking up. And then all of a sudden, it shifts. And, you know, obviously we don't want to spoil what happens because it's pretty incredible. I was floored when the movie took a turn. But just phenomenal film, phenomenal acting. You know, amazing writing and direction from Bong Joon-ho. I mean, something we've seen in the past with a Snowpiercer, and unfortunately I'm not as familiar with his work as I should be, but he's obviously a phenomenal filmmaker. What'd you think of Parasite?
I thought it was phenomenal. It's daring, it's bold in its approach.
Right.
I really did like how you come in, I didn't really, like you said, the trailer made me think one thing, and then it came in and it was really funny. Like, they're talking about, like, WhatsApp in the first, like, scenes and stuff, and I think that was a really smart move to go that route because this is a South Korean film, so it's a film with subtitles.
Right.
Not everyone's big on subtitles, but I think through the use of humor and just like, you know, with talking about something like Wi-Fi, like they're searching for Wi-Fi in the beginning of the movie, that kind of stretches over the cultural boundaries.
Exactly.
And it draws you in. You're like, oh, this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there, and it's just it's this look at class warfare.
Yeah.
And it's so smart and clever. Like, it doesn't treat the audience like it's dumb.
Right.
It makes you like a part of this story. You become invested. Honestly, with like there's like a dueling class structure in here, and I was like interested in both families, frankly.
Exactly.
So there's you said this in your review, but there's no bad guy.
There's no villain. Exactly. And you're so right about the visualization, and there were, you know, a few scenes that we talked about. The horrible rainstorm. Well, it was just a rainstorm. It was just rain, but how each family perceived it based on their class was very telling, and even that spreads across. You know, you've got a South Korean movie, but we could understand, you know, flooding versus, you know, watching just a rainstorm, being kind of in awe of it. So it's just great, and I've heard no negatives about this film. I've heard nobody come out and say like, well, what about this? And everything is just, it's a great movie.
And even trying to like rate this film, like something, you know, we try to think critically, of course, about them. So like I'm looking for negatives, and I couldn't come up with any for this film. So I think that's a testament to how good it really is on all levels.
Definitely. And you know, I feel like going into Sunday, I think the films we spoke of are probably obviously all the front runners. Is there anything else in this category that you enjoyed?
There are. It's just I'm not sure about how some of these movies are gonna fare, but I really did like Little Women, and I'd like to give that a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen almost every film version of it, not all, but most of them, and I really thought that Greta Gerwig added to this one. Plus, you've got a phenomenal cast, which we'll talk more about in the acting categories.
Exactly.
But it was just such a lovely film.
Yeah.
It was just nice to come into, you know, something positive here and just see how this story played out.
I agree. I really like Little Women. I was surprised I liked it because I had no experience with the other films before it, but it was great. You know, from top to bottom, like you said. The other two I kind of want to point out. I love Jojo Rabbit, and I was glad that it got a nomination. It
got in.
Yeah, it got in. That's enough for me. I'm good with that. I really enjoyed it. Funny, emotional, great acting, great kid acting. Yeah, 1 minute has you laughing out loud, the other minute has you almost crying. So it's just, you know, it's Taika Waititi.
Yeah, kind of like Parasite. There's a turn in that movie too.
Exactly. And also Marriage Story, which again we'll get into. I won't talk about much here because it's really driven by the performances and writing and everything. So let's move on to directors. We've got Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, Todd Phillips Joker, Sam Mendes 1917, Quentin Tarantino Once Upon a Time ... in Hollywood, and Bong Joon-ho Parasite. What do you think of these nominations?
I think it's gonna come down to a two-horse race here, and based on what we've been talking about for Best Picture, I think it applies to Best Director.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna see Sam Mendes for 1917 and Bong Joon-ho for Parasite go at it in this category.
Definitely.
I definitely think that Mendes has the edge, though, based on the awards that have been given out so far.
Exactly, I agree. And I just want to point out, and I think you'll agree, the other nominees to me are very weak. For reasons we discussed. Not Martin Scorsese's best work, not Quentin Tarantino's best work, but they get in. And Todd Phillips, again, doesn't understand his movie. Maybe he understands this by now, but his interviews after were really bad.
They didn't speak well for him.
They did not speak well.
I like the movie, and I do think he did a solid job of directing it. I don't think he sold himself very well after the movie came out.
So maybe he does get it. I don't want to keep bashing you, Todd. You think he's going to watch this? Come after me?
I doubt it. I think you're okay.
All right, good.
I think you're fine.
Good.
Yeah.
But in case, sorry, Todd.
Well,
loved The Hangover.
I hope Tarantino doesn't come after me.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about some snubs.
All the women, basically. Yeah. This was a really great year for female directors. We had a lot of strong movies,
Right.
which honestly there were some blockbusters. You had Captain Marvel, which was co-directed by a woman.
Yes.
You had a lot of hit films, which we'll get into shortly, that were directed by women. So it was a really great year for women behind the camera, and it's perplexing that you don't see that represented in the directing category. And just to go through some of the snubs there, you've got Greta Gerwig for Little Women. That would be the main one.
Definitely.
The film is nominated for Best Picture, as we said, but it didn't direct itself.
Exactly.
So that's a weird choice there.
Yep.
And I wanted to give Lorraine Scarfaria a shout out for Hustlers. That was a hit film.
Absolutely.
That film came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it thinking like, wow, this is really well directed.
Right.
And I'm sad that she didn't get some sort of nomination, for her work here. I thought it was really, really strong.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and interesting enough, I forgot to ask for snubs for Best Picture, so I guess we could sort of get into it here.
Mm-hmm.
I would have put Knives Out in there, obviously.
I'll
you know how much I love that
yeah.
film. And so in turn I have Ryan Johnson for Knives Out. This will be a theme.
Okay.
I'm just going to keep throwing Knives Out people into categories. You've been properly warned. But getting back to your point on Little Women, which is why I could see, I would have even liked to have seen a Noah Baumbach in here, for Marriage Story.
That's a surprise, yeah.
And maybe that's just because I'm a fan of, I really like very actor-driven, great writing films, people who are very intelligent and understand the direction they want their film to go. Mm-hmm. And Greta Gerwig is one of those people. Noah Baumbach was obviously one of those people. Ryan Johnson was one of those people. And I'm not saying the people in the category didn't know where their films were going. Right. I'm not trying to say that. But what I'm trying to say is that I think what sometimes gets underrated is the director's effect on the acting. And you really see it in Little Women. The acting's fantastic.
That's a really great point.
It's fantastic because, and again, the writing is strong, and it's the director's job to drive these actors. Mm-hmm. And in Noah Baumbach's case for Marriage Story, I mean, Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson were probably the best they've ever been.
Oh, absolutely,
in that film, Mm-hmm. So I just really like the actor driven, and I can't imagine the job Ryan Johnson had in Knives Out, trying to balance like 15 people. There's so many people in that movie.
Does it so well.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just
seamless. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So those would have been more like interesting choices to me than just throwing in the usual, Martin Scorsese did a film, so
let's get him nominated, yeah.
And granted, there are people, who think that movie's amazing, and we just don't, so that's why we have opinions, of course.
Right. And we can back them up.
Yeah, we can back them up, but that's kind of my thought. I thought that Best Director was pretty weak this year, honestly, except for the two that we mentioned that are front runners for good reason.
I mean, we can have a full-fledged conversation about all the people who were omitted from this category, then I think that says something about the choices.
Exactly. So let's try to move on to the acting categories here. We'll go Best Actor: Antonio Banderas, Pain and Glory, Leonardo DiCaprio, Once Upon a Time, ... in Hollywood. I hope people think that's funny. Otherwise, it's going to be really annoying. Adam Driver, Marriage Story, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, and Jonathan Pryce, The Two Popes. What do you think of this category?
I think there's a lot of good performances in this category, but there is one person who has been sweeping up all of the awards.
Oh, yeah.
And I do believe that this person is deserving of the accolades that he's collected, and that would be Joaquin Phoenix. So when it comes to Joker, I know he's the latest person to play the role, but yet I think he succeeds because he also somehow manages to make it his own.
Right.
Like, he's downright menacing here.
True.
Like, he brings this chilling intensity to the role. And I think the thing that impresses me about it is that even though we're watching the birth of this iconic villain, Phoenix still manages to make the character sympathetic. Like, he's getting kicked down by life, and we're seeing that. He's being abandoned by the mental health system. I think a lot of people were able to like grab onto that, and somehow we're able to feel for this guy. Even though he's becoming a bad guy, we're still able to sympathize with him. So I think that's why he's getting as much acclaim as he is for this role.
Yeah, you're right. I think that people are getting attached, and I think he's a great actor. But as we know, I didn't like the film, and it just from the top down. So it kind of becomes, to me, Joaquin Phoenix's performance was very. I think it's too strong to say one note, but to me, he was just playing a crazy guy. And granted, he descended even deeper into it, but the choices made, just I didn't like them, and I think it just comes from just how the movie was really made and how it progressed. I don't think it's totally against Joaquin Phoenix that I feel the way I do. I think
That's fair, yeah.
I think the problems really come with the movie, and I think I would have enjoyed more if they went deeper into the mental health issues, and but to me they kind of just they sweep right by us, and they sweep by the theme of the government wants to get rid of mental health, but they don't want to give you. They don't want to put money toward it.
No, they want to give you the help you need.
Right, exactly, and maybe I'm wrong, but it felt like that was like 10 minutes of the film, because they were just like, oh, we've got to get to Batman. To me, I think he's a very good actor. I think that he did what this movie asked him to do, But I just don't agree that this performance is so much above the other compared to a nuanced performance of an Adam Driver in Marriage Story, where he starts off in one place, kind of not emotionless, but very in control of his life.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And then it kind of descends where he's trying to get back control of his life, and it's just his nuanced performance, his evolution, or maybe de-evolution, that rang truer with me, and I connected more with that than I did a Joaquin Phoenix performance. So that's that. I know I'm in the deep minority in that opinion, but
it's almost a shame to see these two guys against each other in the category.
True.
Because they're both, I think, so good in these roles, and they're showing their level of talent and maturation.
Right.
Like, especially, honestly, Adam Driver. This is the most emotional I can recall seeing him after the movie, and I thought that was really impressive.
Yes, no, absolutely. So how about snubs for you? Best actor.
I actually have a few of them.
Go for it.
I want to start off with Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems.
Agreed. Yes.
I'm shocked the Academy didn't nominate him.
Yeah, I know.
This. I don't know how he didn't get in. It's been a long time since he's taken on a serious role.
Yeah.
This is the first serious role that I've seen him do, and I thought he was phenomenal. I think this is one of the best performances of his career.
Agreed. I totally agree. Let me ask you a question, being such a fan of Endgame. Robert Downey Jr.?
I wish. I would have loved to see him crack into this category, but we're making progress with comic book films. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Right.
Although look at Joaquin Phoenix.
True.
But then again, as much as I loved Endgame, it is more of a genre comic book film, and I think that might have hurt Downey.
Exactly. I understand why he's not there. But
wow, what a culmination of a role.
Exactly. It was still incredible. But all in all, I actually think this is a pretty strong category. I like all the performances in it, honestly. So, I would like to have gotten Adam Sandler in there, but I don't know. I guess I can't really complain.
Yeah, I think out of the Irishman crew, I was surprised that Robert De Niro wasn't in it, just because he is the lead in the movie,
Right.
and I thought this was one of his best performances in years.
Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising to me how he's not been a main part of the conversation here. And then you mentioned him, but George McKay in 1917.
Yes, that's a good one.
Seems
Absolutely.
unfair the film was snubbed in the acting categories when you have a really strong performance here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Maybe in Robert De Niro's case, they saw the grocery store scene where he beats up a guy, or slightly nudges him.
Could be, and that went against him.
And maybe that went against him. I don't know. Just kidding, Robert. My bad.
I'm sure he knows we're kidding.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watching too. So let's move on to Best Actress. We've got Cynthia Erivo.
Erivo?
Yeah, I think it's Erivo. You're right. In Harriet, Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan, Little Women, Charlize Theron, Bombshell, and Renee Zellweger in Judy. Tell me about Best Actress. What do you think?
Well, there's definitely a clear front runner in this category, and that would be Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
I think this is a really interesting nomination because Renee Zellweger, I think she's much better than the film she's actually in here. She is playing screen legend Judy Garland, who I grew up watching a lot of classic movies, including Judy Garland, so like I'm familiar with her mannerisms and how she sings and how she holds herself.
Yeah.
And Renee Zellweger nails this.
Yeah.
Like she actually disappears into the role of Judy Garland. She just becomes her on screen at some point, and you think you're watching Judy Garland. I think it's impressive too that she actually sings, like she's the one singing the songs in the movie.
See, that's great.
Like she actually sang them in front of the audiences that you see in the film, and that just adds so much to her performance.
Amazing.
Yeah, like it's a really it's a fantastic performance, and she really just elevates the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's easy to see why she's winning all those awards.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see her back. I guess she had taken 6 years off of acting.
Yeah.
So she's gonna come back. This is the role to do it with.
I was gonna say I hadn't seen her in a while, so I guess other things in this category. Absolutely loved Scarlett Johansson's performance in Marriage Story. Big year for her. Everything else. Saoirse Ronan. It's weird. She's so great in everything.
She's uniformly great in everything.
Exactly.
That's almost the problem.
Yeah. It's funny because you said that's almost the problem. Yeah, that's so true. And Charlize Theron could have replaced her with somebody, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's uncanny how much she looks like Megyn Kelly. I think that's the one thing she has going for her here.
Right.
And I want to give Cynthia Erivo a shout out because I thought she was fantastic in Harriet. She really brought a lot of grit and determination to the role. I enjoyed the film a lot more than I thought. I had heard mixed reviews about it, but I thought that she was great in the film. So I'd actually recommend, if it's one you haven't caught, maybe catch it,
Also directed by a woman, right? You
right.
told me?
Yeah, it is directed by a woman, which I was surprised by. I didn't know that until I went into it. But so I want to give Cassie Lemons a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
Again, another great work by a woman on screen here.
Yes, exactly. Some snubs I want to throw out. It's always tough for these movies that come out early in the year, but Lupita Nyong'o in Us.
I have that too.
Yeah, I thought she was fantastic, and I think she could have replaced throw her in for Charlize Theron. Honestly,
I agree.
Playing that dual role in Us was just absolutely phenomenal. And I don't know how it got forgotten. I understand the movie wasn't as good as Jordan Peele's, directorial debut, Get Out, but her performance was absolutely Oscar worthy, and it speaks to the problem of diversity within the Oscars, because to me that was a slam dunk. And she's nowhere to be found.
When that movie came out and we saw it and we're talking about it, I think we just assumed that it would be some sort of player when award season came around, and it really dropped like a rock, honestly, which is sad because her performance is amazing in this. Like, it's a very physically and emotionally demanding role that she takes on here.
Exactly.
So I wish I would take out Charlize and put Lupita in there too.
This is so exciting. I just stared down and you put Ana de Armas as a snub.
I did.
And so did I. Knives Out. One of the best movies of the year. Ana de Armas, she's the heart and soul of the film.
That's what I have.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That's a movie that's pretty much funny. It's very humorous, very well written. but
very clever, yeah.
very clever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie needed a heart. You needed that person,
and she's it, yeah.
And she's it, and you can't undervalue, you know, just an actor actress being that important to the film.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks if it's somebody
Yes.
else, or they don't give that performance. You know, it actually breaks the film, despite everything it has going for it. And I think that's just a lot on her shoulders.
And she carried it beautifully, yeah.
Exactly. So, all right, let's move on to Best Supporting Actor. We've got Tom Hanks, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Anthony Hopkins, The Two Popes, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci in The Irishman, and Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time, ... in Hollywood. So, this is an interesting category, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about it?
This is another category where you see Brad Pitt winning like everything imaginable for this.
Yeah.
And I think the shocking thing is he's probably gonna get his first acting Oscar.
Yeah.
Because even though he's been doing this for about 30 years, he hasn't won an Oscar before now. So I think he has that aspect going in his favor. He's one of the things that people really seem to like about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
I did like him in this film. He gives this understated performance as Leo DiCaprio's stuntman.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the reason I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding why he's winning all the awards.
Right.
Because as great as he is in this movie, I mean, he's very charismatic. There's also like a mystique to his character that I think is intriguing. Definitely. I think that's working for his favor here as well. But he's also just playing a really easygoing character.
Yeah.
And that kind of like, to me, that doesn't necessarily translate into Oscar gold, but it could very well do that on Sunday for him.
Exactly. And it always scares me for the people who are going against each other in the same movie. Mm-hmm. So like Al Pacino and Joe Pesci. I thought Joe Pesci was phenomenal in The Irishman. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't really... Al Pacino was Al Pacino to me.
That's how I felt too.
Everyone else, I thought Anthony Hopkins was great in The Two Popes, honestly.
Same with Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I think the two of them have a problem similar to Saoirse Ronan. It's just that they're all good. They're always good in everything. So they always and often get nominated, and definitely sometimes they win. But they're doing what they do and they're so good at it. But then there's all these other people who are getting like, Brad Pitt sweeping the category, so their chances probably aren't very high to take this.
Exactly. Snub here, Daniel Craig, Knives Out.
I saw that coming.
Yeah, right? I guess I'd call him a supporting actor. It's weird.
It's an ensemble, so you can make that argument.
So I guess. But anyway.
We'll accept it.
Yep. Love Daniel Craig and everything. So, any snubs for you in this category?
Sam Rockwell, I think, and Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit, that's a good one.
He gave a really layered performance in the short amount of time he's on screen, but he really makes it count. I was surprised by the depth of his character. Yeah. So, when I was thinking about it, he stuck out to me.
That's a great one. He's also really good in Richard Jewell. But anyway.
I did not see that film.
Right, so. No, that's okay. It's a weird movie because some of it's not true.
Well, you can talk about it more in the next category.
Exactly. So. That's true. Here we are. Best Supporting Actress. We've got Kathy Bates, Richard Jewell, Laura Dern, Marriage Story, Scarlett Johansson, Jojo Rabbit, Florence Pugh, Little Women, and Margot Robbie in Bombshell. Let's just start off. Laura Dern is winning everything, and we knew this before we saw the movie, and then we went into the movie, and we don't understand why.
No. Yeah, we may see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker differently, but we're united on this front here.
Exactly.
I don't understand this outpouring of love for Laura Dern. Do I think Laura Dern is a great actress in general? Of course, absolutely. Yes. We're not denying her talent by any means. But I think she's fine in Marriage Story. Yeah. She plays Scarlett Johansson's tenacious marriage lawyer. Yep. I think she's like a strong character. I think she's strong. I think she's strong in it. She's playing a strong person, but she does fall as she is a supporting character in this. I don't think she steals any scenes from Scarlett Johansson or Adam Driver in
Agreed.
this. She does give an interesting monologue about fathers that I've been seeing getting a lot of traction online, but to me, this is a film that has a lot of monologues and great dialogue in it,
Yeah.
and maybe her monologue might be like the third most
Yeah.
memorable one in the
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Exactly.
so I'm confused by the outpouring that she's getting here.
In most situations, when it comes to supporting categories, for me, is they've got to steal one scene. Give me one scene that you steal or is memorable or
That's fair, yeah.
something. As it's just not here. Like you said, I think she's perfectly fine in the movie. Like, she's good. She's Laura Dern. She's a good actress. It's just, but this is the Oscars.
Yeah.
These are awards we're giving out, and to me, there's nothing that matches up to Scarlett Johansson or Florence Pugh.
I agree.
Yeah, I think I'd be more on Scarlett Johansson. I thought she was fantastic in Jojo Rabbit. She stole every scene that she was in the limited screen time that she has. And just that, when there's that scene where she pretends to be his father and everything, and it's, oh my God. It's just, she's phenomenal, but also, well, I'll let you talk about Florence Pugh, because you were a huge fan, obviously. And I was too in Little Women, definitely, but...
Yeah, I mean, she had a great year last year in general between Fighting with My Family, Midsummer, and Little Women. And just in Little Women, she did what I think is impossible. In my opinion, she upstages Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
And Saoirse Ronan's Jo is the main character of the movie, or supposed to be. But then when you have Florence Pugh playing Amy, in my opinion, Amy was vaunted to become the main character of the story.
Yeah.
Just the way Pugh plays her. She's often the misunderstood March sister. She starts off as a spoiled brat, frankly, and then she evolves into an ambitious young woman. And just Florence Pugh, she's strong, she's determined. She adds this gracefulness to the part. This is my favorite version of the character in the various versions that I've seen.
Absolutely. Just to second that, she's awesome. Yeah. You said that very well. I have nothing to add. Snubs, obviously, Jennifer Lopez.
Yes.
Hustlers.
Oh my God. Yes. Absolutely.
So I mean, that's I don't
know what happened.
I don't know how she. I mean, look, there's a spot for Margot Robbie Bombshell. That wasn't this spectacular performance. It was just.
No, it was okay.
It was
but
okay.
I think Margot Robbie got in for the wrong film. I think she should have been nominated for Once Upon a Time, Done in Hollywood.
Yes.
She makes Sharon Tate not just a victim here. She plays her as a full-fledged human being with a life. And I think that speaks a lot about Margot Robbie and her talent here. So.
Absolutely. And Kathy Bates, Richard Jewell, I mean, she's good, but I don't know. It's just so to me, there's places in this category for J-Lo, and it just didn't happen.
And it adds to the perplexing question of the lack of diversity.
Right.
We've had great performances by people of color.
Right.
Jennifer Lopez's was definitely one of them, so I don't understand how she didn't make it into this category.
Exactly. And she really makes that movie, makes Hustlers what it is, honestly. Kind of, I don't want to say upstaging Constance Wu, but I mean, she's just such a big part of that movie, putting it in any sort of discussion.
Oh yeah, it's a commanding performance. I think her performance is what lifted the film into the conversation. As high as I'm on the directing, it's J-Lo that started bringing notice to the film in the first place.
Definitely. All right, we've reached our miscellaneous section here. So, what do we want to talk about? Let's get into animated feature just quickly. We've got just a weird array of films that we just... I don't know. This is usually... Well, I don't want to... There's usually a lot more recognizable films, I guess, in this category.
Right.
And there aren't this time around.
Yeah, this is a really weird category, and it's usually I think we would have this, maybe higher up in our priorities for the Oscars this year, but this is a bizarre category. For one thing, you don't have Frozen 2.
No Frozen 2.
I know we're getting to the snub right off the bat here, but that just seems insane.
Right. I know. I'm with you. I was stunned that Frozen 2 wasn't nominated. Would I think it would have won? No. But, you know, it's just, this was just such an odd category, and Toy Story 4 is the only one. I haven't even seen How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World.
No, I haven't
Love
either.
the franchise.
Same here. That's
Yeah.
the shocking thing. I love
Right.
the franchise. I didn't make it to see this film yet.
Exactly.
So, I mean, to me, Disney Pixar usually has a lock on this category.
Yes,
So
right.
I think Toy Story 4 is looking pretty good.
Right.
But Netflix has kind of made a surprising inroad in this category
Yeah.
with 2 films. Klaus, which is apparently about Santa Claus. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I know it was a Christmas movie
You're
that
right.
came out.
Right.
And then I Lost My Body, which sounds, it's a French film on Netflix that about a hand that escapes from a dissection lab to find
Right.
its original body.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds terrifying.
I
to
know.
me.
I know.
So, but I haven't seen it, so I can't
Right.
speak to the quality of animation, but there's that.
And again, like when it comes to like A Missing Link, which took what, the
Golden Globe, yeah, that was a stunner there. That was an upset.
And you know that's a Leica film. They've had some great works.
Right.
And all I keep hearing is that, like, those other works are much better than this. So
I've seen that too. Yeah.
it's just a very confusing category. I'm just going to touch on original score quickly because I'm a big fan of scores. Alexander Desplat, Little Women, and Randy Newman in Marriage Story had some great kind of subtle scores that blended perfectly with their films. Thomas Newman's score in 1917, just emotional and really had the opportunity to overtake what was happening, but just kind of matched what was going on in the film kind of perfectly.
Yes.
So you never really were overtaken by the score.
It wasn't
but it
distracting.
It kind of lifted you up. Absolutely loved that score. Now the Joker score, not a fan. Hildur Guðnadóttir, I'm gonna go with that. Sorry, Hildur. But now here's the thing. It comes with my problem with Joker. This score reflects exactly what the movie is.
It does.
It's very
Haunting.
over the top,
Dark.
uncomfortable,
Yeah, when you hear it,
sounds,
you cringe, and
right.
that's the point of you watching the movie, is to
Right.
make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it actually fits.
Right, and so I don't want to insult Hildur. She would actually become, and she's favored to do so, the first female solo composer to win
Yes.
this award, which would be great. Which would
Yeah,
be great.
if we're talking about increasing diversity
Right.
here, that would be a wonderful accomplishment. To see,
Exactly. But I didn't like the score. Moving on. Anything you want to tackle next?
I think you have an interesting category with visual effects here, because you have some effects that are quite noticeable and an important part of the film, such as Avengers Endgame. We're seeing dozens of Marvel superheroes come together in this thrilling culmination. You've got The Irishman, which has been receiving praise for its de-aging technology, although there's definitely a few spots where it's noticeable. The Lion King looks fantastic, but it lacks a soul. So if they're looking to judge the whole movie, I think that Lion King may have a problem there for as good as it looks.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. You put that incredibly well.
Thank you. And to me, based on the technical accomplishments of this film, I think 1917 could make a run here. It did win the BAFTA over the weekend. The thing that stands out to me about this film is that with the special effects, the best ones are usually the ones you can't spot.
Correct.
That means the filmmakers succeeded at their craft. So I think here, with the desire and accomplishment of the one take looking film, they really accomplished that here. So I think maybe this is the film to watch for in that category.
I totally agree. When I saw that it was nominated for visual effects, 1917 that is, I kind of went like, what visual effects?
Right?
I kind of did that Bert gif where he kind of goes like, Hope people know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, I was just so kind of blown away. I was just like, maybe this should win because I didn't know there were any. It looked so real.
Right.
So, let's see. What can I touch on here? Quickly, original screenplay. Rooting for Ryan Johnson in Knives Out. Love that movie. Fantastic. But also, this is very strong. Bong Joon-ho.
I know.
Parasite. Noah Baumbach, Marriage Story. Honestly, Quentin Tarantino's there.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He kind of owns this category.
Exactly. So we'll see how it plays out. But how about adapted screenplay?
Yeah, with adapted, Jojo Rabbit has actually picked up a lot of momentum in this category over the weekend and won the Writers Guild Award and the BAFTA.
Yeah.
Honestly, before the past few days, I feel like Little Women and The Irishman, even though The Irishman has dropped off in its momentum, there's enough people in the industry who I think could vote it in just to make sure it wins some sort of Oscar.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With that said, Greta Gerwig, of course, got snubbed for director, and maybe she'll win this.
That's true.
In exchange. So.
It's definitely possible. And I don't understand why Joker's nominated. Okay. Anyway. So all right. You know what? You brought the prop.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Rebecca. This is our category, what are we rooting for? This is key. So, we make our Oscar picks. Mm-hmm. We think should win and will win. But ultimately, for me, this is a sports movie. This is like a sporting event. I want things to win, and here's what we're looking at. Best Picture, for me, 1917. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. This movie was awesome, and it's right up my alley. So I'm definitely rooting for it. Best original screenplay, Knives Out. Let's get it done. Let's get it done, Academy. They've already voted, so I can't. Never mind. All right, but let's get it done. Let's do it. Scarlett Johansson, win something. She's nominated for 2 things. She was phenomenal this year. Easily the best year of her career. She really resonated with me in both the movies that she was in. And actually more than that, Endgame as well.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely.
Scarlett Johansson, you had a heck of a year, and I hope you get something for it. Can I throw in a rooting against?
Sure.
Everything Joker. Everything. Rooting against everything Joker. All right. This is yours now.
Okay, thank you. All right.
It's great. It's a great prop.
See, it does the job. It does the job well. So who I'm rooting for at the Oscars, 1917.
Yes.
This is such a fantastic movie on so many levels. It's nice to see craftsmanship recognized, and I hope we see it awarded on Oscars night. So as many categories as this could win, Best Picture, Best Director, Visual Effects, I'm down with it. I'm down with all of it.
Yes, absolutely.
With that said, if Parasite were to sneak up and win something, like say director or screenplay, be okay with that.
Yep.
It's just such a great film. It'll probably win international film.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it's gonna walk away with something, but just originality deserves to be recognized. So be fine with that. Surprise winners. Surprise winners can be fun.
I like that.
I think there's room in some of the categories for this to happen, including supporting actress, which brings me to the last thing I'm rooting for. Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Then it had a heck of a year. Midsummer was a fantastic film. I think she really showed the depths of her talent in that film. Followed it up with Little Women, and I would honestly love to see her steal that category from Laura Dern. So Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. Let's go. Anything else? You're good?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm good to go.
I just want to quickly second your statement about Parasite. I think it was phenomenal. So whatever it takes, Best Picture, Best Director, who knows, maybe this is a year they give maybe Bong Joon-ho director and give 1917
Maybe
Best
they'll
Picture.
split it, yeah.
Maybe they'll split it. You know, original screenplay would be great. You know, anything that Parasite gets, it definitely deserves. So, anything else before we wrap it up?
I guess, well, there's not supposed to be a host this year. It worked last year, so if it's not broke, don't fix it. So maybe the show will be about 3 hours again.
Exactly,
so.
exactly. Yeah, and it'll move at quite a pace. It'll make it more difficult for us to tweet, but
yes,
we'll
we'll be on our game though.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Game on.
We'll definitely be on our toes. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up for our talk about the Oscars. Let's just do some housekeeping, I guess. Be sure to pick up a copy of Sunday's Life and Time section to get our predictions for the Oscars. It came out great. Looks great.
I'm excited about the cover. I think you guys are gonna kick out of it.
I think you guys will really love it. Be sure to pick that up. Pick up the Sunday Times. You'll find Life and Times inside. We reviewed most of the Best Picture films. We missed maybe 2 of them on our blog. So be sure to check that out before the Oscars. It's accessnepa.com/take2, the number 2. We will be live tweeting during the Oscars. You will be doing it at...
TT Rebecca Kivak.
Yep.
It's a very long name.
I always forget where the TT is in it, so that's why I made you do it. I'm gonna be tweeting from @FeaturesTT.
At the end there.
Yeah, because I don't get a lot of traffic on my Twitter, and it's not an official Times Tribune account, so I don't get the fancy TT that Rebecca gets, and she deserves it more than I do. Let's be honest. Also, the last thing we want to get to is the Oscar contest. It's the Times Tribune / Access NEPA Oscar contest.
Yes,
It's fantastic. To enter the Times Tribune, you pick the Oscars contest. Choose who you think will win in each of the categories listed, and it's Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, and Best Director. Pick who you think will win in each of the categories. The winner will be chosen following the 92nd Academy Awards presentation on February 9th.
Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. Sunday. Thank you. And receive 4 tickets for Broadway Theater League's presentation of Fiddler on the Roof. That will be Friday, April 24th at the Scranton Cultural Center at the Masonic Temple. To enter the You Pick the Oscars contest, you could do that online at thetimes-tribune.com/Oscar contest and at accessnepa.com. Could also mail the completed form to the Times Tribune Oscar Contest, 149 Penn Ave, Scranton, PA 18503. Or drop it off at the customer service desk. Entries must be dropped off by Friday, so I don't know when this video is going to be released, but hopefully...
you can follow our advice.
Exactly. So, I'm Joe Baress.
I'm Rebecca Kivak.
Have fun at the Oscars.